This is Africa News Tonight on the Voice of America.
Good evening and welcome to Africa News Tonight from the English to Africa service of the Voice of America, your source for Pan-African news and world developments. I'm Kim Lewis in Washington.
And I'm Yehis Wuhib, and tonight in our top story, Ethiopia has been engulfed in unprecedented levels of political unrest over the past 3 years. Now, a young Ethiopian technocrat, widely seen as a reformer, has been selected as Prime Minister. To update us on the matter, we have in studio Tigist Geme from VOA's Horn of Africa service. So how is Abiy Ahmed, the new Prime Minister of Ethiopia, doing so far?
The new Prime Minister took office on April 2nd, and this past 2 weeks have been a very busy week for him. He had several speeches, unusually, which a lot of officials previously didn't do much. Usually the officials address the people through medias and all that, but he chose to travel to different regions and speak to the people directly. And his first stop was in eastern part of the country, in Somali region, the capital, Jijjiga. And he met with the people and he promised to end the border issue between the biggest regions in the country, Oromia region and Somali region. And this border issue have been risen for loss of many lives, and also over 1 million people were displaced. And he promised to work with the regional governments to solve that problem. And he is really welcomed in a very unprecedented manner. His next stop was in Oromia region, Ambo town, which is about 120-something kilometers from the capital, Addis. And that is historical in many sense. First of all, he comes from that region, Oromia region, and he spoke in his native language, Afan Oromo, to the people. Thousands have showed up at the Ambo Stadium and cheered him throughout his speech, and that makes him probably the first Ethiopian Prime Minister to address the public in his native language. And Ambo is known for anti-government protests for many, many years. We can say since this government took office in 1992, especially the past 3 years also, there was a big resistance and they paid a lot for this struggle. And we've been talking from our service, Horn of Africa service. We spoke to a few residents and how they feel about the new Prime Minister, and they say they hope for change, they hope for bright future for them and also for the country in general, but they remain skeptical, and their main fear is, even though on top level there is a new Prime Minister and new hope coming, but they still feel the structure on local level, the same people are in that. So they remain skeptical.
So he is traveling all over, and good reception. But let me ask you, Tigist, the state of emergency declared in Ethiopia in February after the shocking resignation of Ahmed's predecessor, Haile Mariam Desalegn, is still in place. Military officers are actually running the country as long as the state of emergency is in play. So, as a result, some critics are saying the new prime minister's hold on state security is minimal, making it extremely hard for him to move forward with any reform agenda. So, how do we reconcile the situation?
Right. The state of emergency was declared for second round again in mid-February. And after Dr. Abiy Ahmed, the new prime minister, took office, people are longing for him to speak about that. Yesterday, he spoke at Millennium Hall in Addis, and 25,000 people showed up waiting for him to mention this, but he refrained from talking about the state of emergency. That's why his critics are saying he still don't have that power to do what he's promising to do. His supporters have some things to say. There are some tangible things they claim he have gone so far. He have signed the order to close the notorious prison in Addis Makalawi. It was shut down just last week. That's one. The other thing is internet service have been blocked in Oromia since December. And just last week again, internet is back. even though the command post is in charge of the country, it seems like there are some things we're seeing. And just today, before I came to the studio, high-ranking officials from Oromia who were arrested during this state of emergency are released. The one is Oromia Region Justice Bureau head Tayyid Nda. Another one is university professor and blogger, you might know about him, Siyum Tashome. So these are good starts, but again, the states of emergency is again a big hurdle in front of him.
Work in progress. Tigist Geme, VOA Horn of Africa's reporter, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.